What's up, fam? This is Donald from the Yankified podcast on behalf of the Pinstripe Chronicles. And I am joined by my special guest, one half of the Big Blue in the Bronx, one of the twins. We're bringing the old band back together again for another night. My guy, Luca at Nick's Cast. And we'll be breaking down this Yankee offseason, some Gleyber stuff, and these kind of things. Look at my guy. Now, you just came back from Alabama. How was that, my guy? Was that at Senior Bowl?
Oh, that was a lot of fun, meeting with a couple NFL people, you really don't just go there to scout and do your thing. You meet up with different people of different podcasts, different shows, different fan bases, and you really just start to connect. It's a great connecting forum for everybody. I actually had a friend of ours who didn't travel along with us, but he got there on Thursday. He actually got to meet Charles Davis. I got to meet Diana Rossini of ESPN. I also got to meet Connor Rogers of NBC Sports and who does the Badlands podcast with Joe Caporoso. And, we talked with the guys from Talking Giants, Bobby, Grump, and we also talked with Justin as well. Just a lot of fun people, including Jeremy from Jets Chaos and Dom C, who does his own draft show. So just a lot of fun. Even the same guys we talked to last year. It was like just a lot of fun being down there again. It's a great experience for anybody who's in the media field, content creating field, football wise, and really wants to go. It's just a great experience overall.
And you got to interview the next draft prospects too.
Absolutely. We did about 42 interviews collectively between me, Alex, and Bad Takes Brian. But I got a Yankee story real quick.
All right, let's go.
This actually happened to work. Yes, everybody's talking about the Super Bowl, obviously, because it's tomorrow. So, some people looked at my hat, oh, you're a Knicks fan. I'm like, yeah. So not just the biggest talk was the Super Bowl, but was somehow the Yankees for whatever reason. So this guy comes up to me, there's a story behind this, and eventually the big part comes up. So he comes, I'm a cashier, and he's like, Knicks, how they're doing. I'm like, yeah, they're the third best team in the Eastern Conference. They're playing really well. And he's like, I never thought I would hear that. I'm like, yeah, me neither. At least they're better than my football team. And I said, I'm a Jet fan. He's like, wow. And then he brought up the Yankees. You a Yankee fan? And I'm like, yeah. He's like, smart. And then, he brought up the Soto thing. Soto got too much money, all this different stuff. We talked about the World Series. And, as we were talking about that, a guy in the Postal Service uniform, post office guy, mailman, walks by our conversation. He says, nice World Series it played there. He pulls up his shirt. On the left side of his hip is a Brooklyn Dodgers B and the Dodgers logo tattooed. And I was like, oh, I'm not getting that out of my head.
Bad images there.
The guy I was talking Yankees with was like, yeah, I don't know how that I'm getting that out of my head. I'm like, me neither. I'm like, I have to save that for the show.
Well, let's move on to that topic. Obviously, this is the first time I've spoken to you since the Juan Soto news came down.
Absolutely.
What are your thoughts on Juan Soto? We were pretty confident that I think we're at least 50-50 that he was going to come back. He hasn't. How are you feeling about it?
As you said, I was 50-50. We all knew at the end of the day he was going to have a crap ton of bidders. And he was also chasing the most money. I don't think he was really chasing legacy. He is 25, 26 years old. So he's going to try to earn a long-term contract with the most lucrative at most. And obviously he signs with the Mets. Mets fans are happy and rightfully so. But I really don't have any malice because, I was 50-50. I didn't hold my expectations too high. But, congratulations to the Mets. We'll see how it works out, just like every signing, because, in baseball, one player just doesn't define a team. You have to have a whole roster, a whole lineup. So, it's about the Mets, whether they can build around Soto. Obviously, they just re-signed Pete Alonso. But for the Yankee aspect, I think, even Met fans brought this up to me. You know what? They said us signing Soto allowed you guys to balance out your lineup a little bit with a bunch of guys like Bellinger, Goldschmidt, just a couple of names off the board, and possibly Nolan Arenado. If the Yankees decide to trade for him, I have a different idea. But regardless, I was 50-50. I have no malice against him. He was going for the biggest bag. That's kind of what I expected.
Do you believe he is as important as many make him out to be? Or do you feel that like you can actually rebuild without him?
He was very instrumental to the Yankees getting the World Series last year, in my opinion. I thought and we could agree with this, Donald. I thought the two most important pieces were Stanton and Soto, the two big time
Yeah.
hitters in the playoffs last year, especially in the World
Because
Series.
we called the whole World Series together.
Yes, we did. We did. Soto is a generational player. He's 25, 26 years old. Yes, the Yankees built out they filled out Bellinger, they filled out Goldschmidt, all these different needs and stuff, and they're going to bring Dominguez back. He switches number 24. My problem is, Donald, is the Yankees are relying, and this isn't just so much the hitting aspect, but the starting and pitching aspect, which I'll bring up in a second. They're relying on guys to have bounce back years. It's not like, okay, this guy had a really good year last year. He's coming here and he's going to continue that. Paul Goldschmidt is on the wrong side of 30. Cody
Right.
Bellinger did not have a great year last year. Being fair. Starting pitching, Max Fried, you're relying on him to stay healthy, which the problem is the Yankees always go after these injury-prone starting pitchers. Carlos Rodon, I was a fan of that signing. To me, I think he's disappointed so far, if you want my honest opinion. And Max Fried, you're signing him to 8 years? He's a great starting pitcher, top 5, top 10 when you consider him healthy. But you know what the problem is? Arm injuries. Arm injuries have been his problem the last few years. So, and I'm not being negative. I'm just trying to be objective as possible. But with
Absolutely, because that's what I'm always aiming in this show is I want to be as objective as possible. I'm not just gonna, wear rose tinted Yankee tinted glasses. I want to try and be as objective as possible. And I think there's legit questions that could be asked. But it was interesting. I was listening to Joel Sherman's podcast
Right.
on the post, and he does a very, very good job. And he said that everybody he's spoken to around the league, every single executive he's spoken to, have all 100% said the Yankees have had a good offseason. And that's the next real talking point. So we're going to get into our trade grades of the offseason so far. Obviously, there's still one more move to make. But if anything's, just judging by what Joel Sherman's saying, he's saying more likely than not, we're riding into spring training with DJ LeMahieu and Oswaldo Cabrera. So we're going to get into that as well.
Yeah.
But since the tea leaves are saying that there's not going to be a third base move until spring training, we could probably safely do a trade grade, an off-season grade as well. So we're going to get into all that stuff. But first of all, let's say hello to the chat. What is my chat doing? What is my chat doing? Hello, hello, hello. We got Sean. Salute, Sean. Sean is saying, I am excited to see Cole, Fried, Rodon, Hill, and Schmidt. It's a legit rotation, man. I think that's the one thing that I'm really excited about is our rotation. Sean saying I want Arenado. It's interesting because if you brought his name up to me at the start of the offseason, I would have been like, oh God, no, another
Exactly.
Josh
That's where I would have been.
Yeah, but now
he's our only option.
He's our only option.
Did Bregman sign?
Please give me Arenado.
Did Bregman sign anywhere or no? I'm just curious.
No, not yet. I think it's looking good for maybe the Cubs or maybe the Red Sox or maybe Detroit. I don't know. Lou, we can rebuild next year with Tucker. 85% of Soto with much better defense. Well, we could have just traded for Tucker this offseason.
That's true. We could.
And I mean, while I agree, I just hate that we have to look another 12 months into the future when you're supposed to be a win now team. Do you know what I'm saying? It's like it's a mix of philosophies. They're never really all in. We got Armand. Good to see Armand in the chat. Armand, how are you doing, my man? What's up, Armand? Got BC. BC says go Lakers. And BC, I believe, is also a Dodger fan as well. Lou is once again into some Torres talk. We're going to talk about Torres later on. We got Jonathan in the chat. We got 01. We got Stevie B. We'll get more joining us as the show progresses. Yankee rotation, one of the best in baseball. Defensively, huge upgrades. Bullpen, so much better with the best closer in baseball. So it looks like there's some reasons for optimism. So look forward to get into all of that stuff. And let's do it. Let's freaking do it. How we doing? Right. Grades time, baby.
Yes.
Let's start with the first one. Max Fried.
I'm going to go as I said earlier, I didn't like the contract because I thought it was too long, especially for somebody who's, let me look up his age real quick because I want to be right on
He's
this.
31.
31, wrong side of 30. He's a great starting pitcher when he's healthy. I believe he's top 5, top 10, one of the best lefties in baseball. I just have a problem with all the arm injuries in the recent years. So I want to say between a B plus or just a general B. And it's, again, I'm not saying because of the talent. I'm saying more so because of the contract the Yankees gave him with the injuries he's had recently. That's a
Okay.
problem for me because I said earlier that the Yankees tend to pick up injury-prone starting pitchers like Carlos Rodon. I will tell you I was in favor of the Rodon signing. He's ended up on the injured list a few times. So I'll go like B plus.
Okay. So, for me, he was definitely probably my favorite pitcher on the market.
That's fair.
And I'm actually excited about him. He's actually, for me, he's one of my favorite pitchers in baseball. He's had some tremendous years. He's had some unbelievable years. So, I mean, there are some real reasons to be excited about him, I think.
Absolutely.
He kind of fits the Yankee profile as well. He's a ground ball pitcher. The Yankees love that. And
Absolutely.
I mean, I believe since 2020, he's got the best ERA in the league. So, like, you can legit make the case that he's an ace. What would you say to that?
For sure. Oh, for sure. And I'm just looking at some of the percentile rankings, Baseball Savant, something I've become more acquainted with. Last year,
no, definitely.
Last year, exit velocity ranked in the 95th percentile. His whiff rate was down. His strikeout percentage was down. His walk rate was up to about 8%. But like the really advanced analytics, barrel percentage, hard hit percentage were all in the 89th and 81st percentile, respectively. Also 96 percentile on the ground balls, as you mentioned, Donald, 59.2% on the ground balls. As Matt Blake, loves sinker guys. Fried does feature a sinker. It's his third pitch. Obviously, we love picking, as I said, sinker ball pitchers. Matt Blake, there's a huge, connection with that. So, if you can mix that fastball, high velocity fastball with that sinker, I think he's going to have a really nice combo. But again, my issue was never with Fried personally in terms of starting pitching, his performance. It was more so due to the injuries and the length of the contract.
Well, yeah, I mean, 8 years is a lot. There's no question about it. Especially for someone who's 31. I think that was my only downside to the deal. So yeah, we're looking some of his numbers here. He also fields his position very well. That's another aspect.
Good.
He's an excellent fielder. Of his couple of Gold Gloves there, and multiple All-Star. Look at these ERAs.
He's also got 2 complete games this year. The Yankees really don't have any pitchers that can go the long way. Yeah, that's what I like.
I like that too. Give you some length. Love the 2.55 ERA, the 2.48 ERA, 2.25 ERA, 2.94 ERA. Anything. Even last year, that would be one of the best pitchers on the Yankees. 3.25.
100%. What I also like, Donald, is he keeps his strikeout per 9 inning rate always in the high 8s or the low 9s. That does it for me. That's, again, I don't have problems with Fried as a pitcher. Here. Strikeouts per 9, 8.6. Walk rate was a little high in terms of strikeouts. Walks per 9 is 2.9, but that doesn't really say much. Whip 1.16. His FIP ERA plus was beyond amazing, 128. And the year before was a 171. I believe 100 is considered average. I think I could be wrong on that, but I think 100 is considered average in terms of ERA plus.
Yeah, no, I feel good about. I feel good about this signing. The only question is the 8 years. So, with all that in mind, you're going B plus, right? B plus, B plus. Okay, we're going B plus. What's the people in the chat going with? Sean is going with
A plus.
A plus. We like it. Who else in the chat is giving me some grades here? You guys give me some grades, and I will go with. I'm gonna go a little higher. 8 is a little much, but the Yankees were a little bit desperate.
Yeah.
After losing Soto.
Especially that they didn't either I don't think they really we're interested in Corbin Burns either.
No. And I mean, I'm okay with Fried over Burns anyway,
Yeah.
actually. So you know what? I'm gonna give it an A.
Okay, that's fine.
That's the I think that's probably the one of the only moves that I was really excited about. Um, so you all in the chat give us some more of your grades. So I'm going A on that one.
All
You're
right.
going B plus. Pretty positive start,
Yeah.
especially as a pivot after losing Soto. Let's move on to the next move, and that was Cody Bellinger. The Cody Bellinger trade. The Cody Bellinger trade is kind of interesting. I mean, the trade itself, I believe, is an absolute robbery. Like it's literally a robbery from the Cubs for Cody Poteet. I mean, someone who's like a middle reliever slash
Absolutely.
6-7 starter, and you're getting someone that can give you plus defense and maybe a plus bat. But he's still not the MVP Bellinger, but he should be. He should benefit from Yankee Stadium. Where do you feel on this one? Because for me, like the trade's good, but is the player that good? Let's ask Luca. How do you
Let
bring
me
it all
see.
together and give me a trade?
In terms of a trade, I think the Yankees went away with highway robbery. I do have a slight problem, and I did mention, Bellinger having a previous down year. That wasn't my main issue. What I would have done, Donald, if you want my honest opinion, I would have put Bellinger at first and went out to try to sign Teoscar Hernandez. If you want my honest opinion, play Teoscar in center field. But I could get into it with the whole Hal thing because the Yankees don't want to go over the luxury tax. I thought that was key in it because the Yankees, another problem that they have, which is on the side, is that they can't trade Marcus Stroman. At least nobody has contacted the Yankees yet, but he basically didn't pitch the entire postseason. What factors in is I wish Bellinger would be playing first. Then you have Teoscar in center field. Now, if Bellinger's better at center field, sure. But that's what I would have done. It's not so much anti-Cody Bellinger. I was for Cody Bellinger, and I'm understanding of the fact that we're not getting an MVP. If he's at least our all-star level and, he can show up in the postseason, good. So I'm going to give this one like an A.
Oh, you're actually pretty optimistic about that deal.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's have a look and see what the story is with Cody Bellinger's stats. We don't know what we're getting with Cody Bellinger. I really am stumped because look at his wins above replacement. 2021 minus 1.7. That's actually DJ LeMahieu of this year territory.
It was basically a negative.
Unbelievable negative. Minus 1.7. I mean, that is stupendous, and it wasn't even that long ago. So that was 2021 minus 1.7. Not much better the year after, 2022. Now COVID's passed. We're now into the kind of regular territory, only at 1.4. So another pretty horrendous year. And what worries me is this is with him playing good defense because he's regarded as a very good defender. So he's giving you 19 home runs, but he's only giving you a win above replacement of 1. So that means that there's not much happening with him. Look at his on base percentage, 260. That's embarrassing. So 2022 is not very good. But then 2023, the Dodgers get rid of him. He goes to the Cubs and has absolutely spellbinding season. Not far off the MVP season that he had back in 19. Look at that year he had, man. 26 homers, 97 RBIs, 300 batting average. If Yankees get that, we are jumping for joy, and he's going to be like a Yankee hero if he gives you those numbers. That was only 2023. But then in 2024, right back down again, but not nearly as bad as, 4 of the previous 5 years, but still not great. 2, win above replacement of 2, 18 home runs, not much happening there. OPS is solid enough, actually. Not too bad. Not amazing, but not bad. On base percentage, pretty poor. Batting average is not, it's all right. At least he's not striking out.
Yeah.
Not
I
a
got a
lot of
stat
walks
for
either.
that real quick, Donald. I
Yeah,
believe he ranked in the 89th percentile in terms of strikeout percentage. Yeah, he 85th percentile in strikeout percentage, 15.6, which is, I would think he would strike out more, but apparently that's not been a problem per the metrics. Strikeout percentage, whiff percentage is about average. Bat speed, chase rate is very high, which is a problem,
yeah.
32.4%. You say the fielding's phenomenal. We don't really have to talk about that. I'm going to look up another thing that the Yankees have a problem with, and they've had this problem for years, is the runners in scoring position. I'm going to find out how he did in those. Let's see, runners in scoring position. He hit 331.
Wow, that's
Three
good. That's
331
what
with
we need.
runners in scoring position.
That's what we need.
And it was he had a 921 OPS, 406 on base percentage, and a slugging percentage of 515. So that's phenomenal. That's better than I expected. And then we're talking 2024 when I mentioned that he had a possible down year.
Well, yes, absolutely. Now, Tony Clark has a little point here. Cody had a few good seasons in Chicago. Yeah, I think he'd one really good year and one kind of average year.
Yeah.
Donnie says Belly's going to love that
Yes,
short
he
porch.
is.
And Cody's dad was a Yankee, so it makes Cody a legacy. And I can actually attest for that because I was in the stands at the old stadium and I watched his dad
Clay
play.
Bellinger.
Yes. I remember turning to my grandfather because he stole a couple of bases in one inning, and I turned to my grandfather and went, I like this guy. I remember that. And then I went home and told my grandmother, I was like, that Bellinger, he's an athlete. And she's like,
Yeah,
well, I mean, he plays baseball, so yeah, he will be an athlete.
exactly.
I was like, all right, grandma. So, yeah. So you know what? I don't know because 4 out of 5 years, when he's only giving you a WAR of 2 or less, and that's with the fact he gives you good defense, kind of worries me. I just don't know what we're going to get from him.
Right.
There's
Understandable.
it kind of like there's as much chance as him like being giving you below 20 home runs and being a bit of a non-entity as there's as much chance of him having a phenomenal year where he bats 300 and it's 30 home runs and provides decent protection for Judge. Who knows? That's the question mark.
I got to bring something up as well,
Yeah.
Don. Just a quick stat for you. He struggled against the breaking ball last season. This was in about 602 pitches, I believe he faced in 146 plate appearances, 234 batting average against the breaking ball. His expected batting average 204, slugging 340. Whiff percentage 29.2 on the breaking ball. So he's going to have to really adjust his timing this year because those breaking ball numbers do not look good. And I was also going to mention as well in terms of Cody Bellinger and his fit, and he's going to be playing center field, obviously. And this is also, I think, creates a problem for the Yankees that they sort of saw last year. Jason Dominguez in left field, and he was not good defensively last year in left field. Hopefully, he makes some strides. He's not the most athletic.
Yeah.
That's going to be an issue defensively. But again, that
Yeah.
was
Well, we're gonna after we do the grades, we're gonna break down the lineup as it stands and where you think it projects as. But yeah, the where I'm fit with it is I wanted the Bellinger deal to go through. I wouldn't have wanted to have eaten as much money as we did, but
right.
I guess it was probably they didn't want to give up any major prospects or any significant prospects, so. Yeah, but because I was always thinking, you know what, I know the stupid budget and it's going to affect our ability to add further players. So I was a little worried about that taking on his money. But in general, the trade's a steal.
Yeah, I was also going to add to go back on your budget thing. It was not only just the Yankees. Tom Ricketts, the owner for the Cubs, doesn't really have a penchant for spending money, so that's a problem too. So I'm guessing had to deal with it too.
That would have had something to do with it. Really good that you brought up his problem with breaking balls. Here's the thing, though. This is a very analytic-driven league, and you do know now for a fact that every pitcher is going to be told to throw breaking balls on
Mhm.
on him, and he's gonna have to get with it quick, or we could
Absolutely.
have a very, very bad year if he doesn't, because they're gonna absolutely pound him with the breaking balls, and he has to adjust fast if we're gonna get any kind of year from him. I'm a little bit in between because I agree with you. I would have preferred Teoscar Hernandez and just had Jason Dominguez play center field. But the trade itself was a steal. So if I was to look at the trade, like the trade's like an A plus. But the player that we're getting, I don't know what the player we're getting. So I'm just gonna give it a B plus.
Okay, that's fine. But also a stat down. You mentioned Bellinger as a guy who can, have a good year this year, bad year next year. Funny enough, he hit better against the off speed last season in 2023, not 2024. And
Okay.
when in 2023, he hit better against the off speed than he did the fastball. So it's like you're really right in the point that you do not know what you're going to get with Cody Bellinger.
And I'd prefer a bit more certainty, especially after losing Soto. And I
That-
think that's probably where I lie with it. Like if you look at it purely on a basis of is he an upgrade over what we had last year, then of course it's a
Yeah,
great acquisition. But
Bender
if
too.
if you're looking at it as is this guy going to give you anything to make up for Soto? Which, by the way, none of us have said, but Hal Steinbrenner said, then I think it's insane,
Right.
frankly. So, like, I know, like, technically he's viewed as a previous MVP, but I mean, it's so far in the history books. I don't think that
Exactly.
he's that kind of player anymore.
Right.
So, you're acquiring a league average player. Okay, so we've done that. I B plus for you, and you're still A, right?
Yeah, I'm still with the A.
Okay, so yeah, so far I've got Freed A, Cody Bellinger B plus. You got Bellinger B plus, and you got him, and you got Bellinger A.
Yeah.
So far we're averaging with a very very exactly the same grade so far,
Right.
probably about an A minus.
Yeah.
Right. Well, let's get to the next move. My favorite move, and it isn't close. Acquiring the best closer in baseball, technically,
Hey,
and that's Williams. How do you feel about this move, Luca?
I'm going to say my grade outright, A plus.
Yeah.
Love the trade, trading Nestor Cortez away. I don't think he had a future with the Yankees. The only knock on Williams is obviously the home run to Pete Alonso last year. But besides that, this dude pumps fire. To me, he, like, in terms of mentality and the mindset, he fits being a Yankee, like what a Yankee should be, not what they are, in my opinion. But he's just a fiery guy. He's going to pump fastballs. Like Holmes was more, trying to be, how would I put this? He was trying to be more of a magician with the sinker. This guy's just going to blow fastballs by you. And you know what I like as well? As opposed to the last guy who we had as a closer, Chapman, who would blow fastballs by you. Williams does it with control.
Mm,
Chapman does not.
I love that, man. That's a great point. And we got my guy Ragil. Ragil's joining. What up,
For
my
sure.
man, Ragil? Hey, he's giving it an A. Sean Browning has hopped in there and says A plus for a highway robbery. Amen. Tony Clark, the airbender of pinstripes. I like that. Great to see y'all in the chat. Everybody hit the like button. No, I love the Devin Williams acquisition.
It was the best. I thought it was my favorite of the offseason, if I'm
Oh yeah. Well, I mean, when I came across it, it was like, oh my god, that's craziness. That's a steal. Um, not to blow my own trumpet, but actually, I did have a podcast with the guys, and I said that my ideal move would be acquiring Williams for, believe it or not, Nestor Cortez. I said that the money actually works.
Yes.
But I was wondering, I was like, I think Milwaukee could probably do with a starter. We could give them that starter, and Williams is available. I was like, I mean, is it fantasy baseball? Is that a little bit 2K baseball? But let's try it. Boom, it worked. MLB the Show kind of baseball, but it worked.
Yeah. I like Sean's comment. He says Devin has the ice in his veins factor. I don't think Williams is a pitcher. I don't think Williams is a pitcher that's going to melt too often. And just some stats for you real quick. 15.8 strikeouts per 9 innings rate last year.
Oh,
3.5
baby.
strikeouts per walk. Some advanced metrics. They could not hit his four-seamer last year, Donald. 111 batting average against the batters hit against the four-seamer, 162 against the changeup, which coincidentally was the pitch that they gave up to Alonso anyways, but regardless. Whiff percentage on the changeup, 48.8%. Whiff percentage on the fastball, 32.7%. Put away percentage is higher on the changeup, 31.9. Put away percentage on the fastball, 26.2. So his numbers are electric.
Phenomenal acquisition. And he's got to kind of approve it here. He's on a 1 year. Let's see how he does. Hopefully he absolutely locks it down in the ninth inning, and then we extend him, because I think this guy is legit. I think it was an absolute steal. So both A+ on that.
Absolutely. And the thing is, they're gonna obviously give him a leash longer than Clay Holmes, because you know what the thing is as well, and I go back to this, with the mentality and how consistent he is. What you're going to get from Devin Williams in and night out. He's not going to crash often. Like, he's exactly what the Yankees needed a closer. Yes, Clay Holmes was trying to be more finesse with the location, the sinker, because Matt Blake loves the sinker, and the Yankees picked up Clay Holmes. They made him into something, but he wasn't consistent as a closer. This guy is all-star level. You could, as Donald said, best closer in baseball. So you know what? It's been a while since the Yankees had the best closer in baseball.
My God, I'd have to look at Clay Holmes.
God. It's almost reset the record for blown saves in a single season.
Bro, for those that have just recent subscribers, man, me and Luca did a show with his brother and some other friends of ours. We did a live stream. What game was it that we called?
It was Yankee. It was ironically against the Brewers.
It was the Brewers.
End of September 2022. I don't remember who it was. Holmes started off the ninth inning, and the first pitch, or one of the first pitches, was a double in the left center field. The Yankees just came back. I remember, because the Yankees were leading big in that game. We were just kind of chilling out. Then Montas blows the lead. The Yankees, I think, either had the game tied. They had the lead in the ninth inning. They go to the bottom of the ninth. First batter up hits a double into the gap. And then Donald went on his rant and said, I fucking told you about Clay Holmes. How many fucking times do I have to tell you about this? It's true, though. I mean, he was oof. Yeah, Montas did lead Raziel. That's what I said. The Yankees were like up big. Yeah, Montas was terrible too, but Holmes was just another level of bad. Like, he was great for what the Yankees got out of him, basically kind of a low risk, high reward kind of thing, because Holmes wasn't really known in Pittsburgh, but he's not a closer. He's not a closer.
Oh God, could you imagine? I can't imagine him starting for the Mets, but I'll watch it with popcorn, to be honest.
Yeah,
and then see how long it'll take before Met fans want him ridden out on a rail. So I'm asleep on new Mets pitchers a little.
Listen,
Bro,
I don't think
our best player, so we can rip you for Clay Holmes, okay?
I don't think Armin's even high on Montas or Clay Holmes from a Mets perspective. I mean, he could obviously offer his thoughts, but I don't think he's even high on either of them. And I wouldn't be either if I was a Met fan. And I'm about to write a piece on Montas and why I think he'll fail at the Mets.
Oh,
no, like, true. Listen, I'll advertise this now real quick. I'm actually writing for a Mets blog of Fansided. It's Rising Apple. My first article is going to be about why Montas is not going to succeed in New York.
Wow. All right, man. All right. Let's go. Let's see. I'll tell you who will succeed for the Mets is Juan Soto.
Yeah, of course.
And I'm still not over that. I don't think I'm gonna be over it. Let's be honest.
The thing is,
let's move on. Let's move on. Let's go with the second name that's supposed to go a long way towards replacing Juan Soto, according to Hal Steinbrenner, not me. Paul Goldschmidt, 40 years old. So, Luca, give me your grade on that.
Well, I'll talk about it real quick. Goldschmidt was definitely not on my list. Let's see how old he is real quick. I just want to pull up his age. He is 37 years old. He is a one-year guy. I think this goes back, and this is a broader conversation. I thought to myself, the Yankees haven't had a proper first baseman since Mark Teixeira retired. Yes, we had Greg Bird. Yes, we had Anthony Rizzo, and he was fun for a few years, and eventually Rizzo got concussed, was never the same player. Paul Goldschmidt, obviously 37 years old. I loved him back in 2016. It was funny when I mentioned 2016, that was the final year of Teixeira. I was in Little League, and I was always, me and my brother were always debating with this Diamondbacks fan, who ironically we were on the team called the Diamondbacks, obviously named after the Major League team. And she was like, "Oh, Paul Goldschmidt's better than Mark Teixeira." Goldschmidt at the time in 2016 was better than Mark Teixeira because Teixeira was the end of his prime, but Teixeira I always thought had the better glove. But anyways, Goldschmidt had what, an MVP about 3 years ago, and yeah, 2022. I just don't like the drop off that he's had. 245 last year, 22 home runs. Donald, you think of Goldschmidt as a high 20, early high 20, lower 30 home run kind of guy. 35 home runs, 33 home runs. Always, hitting the doubles, extra bases, on base percentage, OPS. It's just, I was not a big fan of the signing. Yes, it's 1 year, but it's more of a stopgap in case we pursue like a Murakami or a Vlad Guerrero Jr. next year. He wasn't my guy. And it's nothing against Goldschmidt. He's on the wrong side of 30, and I think we're starting to really see his decline in the numbers.
Yeah, I mean, listen, Goldschmidt as a player has been one of my favorite players in baseball for a long, long time.
Yeah.
Remember the World Baseball Classic when he was actually the star of the show, not Mike Trout.
Yeah.
I wanted him. I called him Captain America. I wanted him to be a Yankee. I've been wanting him to be a Yankee for a long time. Until now. Yeah. Because he has dropped off a cliff statistically in 2024. But you look at the numbers. I mean, he's literally a Hall of Famer. He's walking to the Hall of Fame for his numbers between 2013 and 2022. I mean, the guy was ridiculous. 36 homers, 125.
Multiple Gold Gloves.
33 homers, 110 RBIs. 36 homers, 120 RBIs. 33 homers, 83. 34, 97. 31, 99. 35, 115 in 2022. That's where he won the MVP. Had an OPS of almost 1,000. Had an OPS plus of 177, which is basically what Juan Soto's numbers were this year. 5.78 slug, which is just stupid, and a 400 on base percentage. That's just stupid. So that was only 2 years ago.
Yeah, but it's been a decline since, and I got some advanced numbers for you. We talk about speed, we talk about athleticism, we talk about all those things. How Anthony Rizzo was not a fast runner. Paul Goldschmidt's not a fast runner either. 23rd percentile in sprint speed. You're not expecting someone to be fast at the age of 37, but he's not even close to fast. Like, he's bottom of the barrel. He's also bottom of the barrel in strikeout percentage, walk percentage, whiff percentage, chase percentage, squared up percentage, and sweet spot percentage. So down year last year, 37 years old. You're not talking about a guy who's like 31, 32, coming off of an MVP. You're like a Stanton or anything like that. The only metrics that he was possibly good at last year was barrel rate and hard hit percentage. That's it. But the strikeouts and the walks, not good at all.
Like, there's certain things that are extremely concerning to me. So let's look at individually, for instance, his strikeouts. His strikeouts are escalating at a stupendous rate since 2021. Yeah. So 136 strikeouts in 2021, then shot up to 141 strikeouts in 2022, 161 strikeouts in 2023, and 173 strikeouts in 2024. That's a lot of strikeouts and not a lot of walks. Only 47 walks last year. 47, 173. Dude, that is a worry, man. That's a lot of strikeouts. When you pair that with Aaron Judge, who loves to strike out in a big spot, and Big G, who has high strikeout numbers, and then Volpe, who strikes out a ton. There's a ton of strikeouts in this lineup. I don't know how we're gonna deal with all that. So that individually concerns me. So there's obviously the low walks, incredibly high strikeouts. His batting average is plummeting. So obviously in the 2000s, it was like a 300, 290, 317, 260, then drops right down to 245. And another thing before we get your thoughts, his OPS is going down. His OPS plus is shooting down. And his on base percentage is shooting down. Look, it went 404 in 2022, then
Yeah,
went down to 360, and then now just a 300.
that's
So
all
what
we
I'm
see.
seeing is a significantly declining player.
And the problem is, Donald, we saw this with a recent acquisition 2 years ago, Josh Donaldson. Now they're not the same person, obviously, but we saw the decline with Donaldson. We're going to see the decline with Goldschmidt. And here's some concerning numbers as well. In more plate appearances than Bellinger, he hit 203 with runners in scoring position. 203. That's
Okay.
not 300. That's paltry numbers, as you said. And also, as well, like last year, he was never like significantly great against the fastball. Breaking ball, okay, 265. And the off speed pitches, like a split finger fastball, changeup, 169 against those pitches. Again, they're not thrown often, but whenever he had the chance to swing at him, he was awful. And to me, as well as we were looking at the basic numbers, with Goldschmidt, you saw earlier in his career that he racked up a ton of strikeouts, but he had significant power to override that.
Yeah.
He doesn't have that power anymore where he could override the strikeouts. Now the strikeouts will become a bigger concern where it's going to be like almost like kind of a Mark Reynolds, Chris Davis thing. And I'm not going to say like, he's as bad as decline as Chris Davis because that was a monumental collapse after a 50 home run season. But it's just bad with usually with power hitters, you obviously a lot of home runs, a lot of strikeouts. You're not seeing a lot of home runs with Goldschmidt. That's the problem.
Yeah. Now, the Yankees are banking on him having a very similar year this year as he had in the second half of last year. So the second half of last year, his numbers were right back to normal. His OPS numbers were right back to normal, but the first half of the year was that bad because obviously if you're looking at the numbers there, an OPS plus of 98 is below average.
Mm-hmm.
So that means that the first half of his year was just dreadful. Second half of the year, much better. But by the way, DJ LeMahieu had a really good second half of the year in 2023. That doesn't mean anything.
No, it doesn't.
So we don't know what we have. Again, I'm looking at that paired with Bellinger, which we don't know what we've got, and I'm a little bit concerned about what the upside is. But if you're a glass half full guy,
right,
and you close your eyes and hope for the best kind of guy, and you don't look at the trends and the stats kind of guy, and you go, hey, this could work. These guys are, used to be superstars. That it could work, and then you could have a really, really good team out of it. But I don't know. I really don't know what we're getting with him.
Yeah.
Obviously, he's an upgrade over Anthony Rizzo, but that's not hard. If the Yankees are purely looking at upgrading from what they have individually from last year, then it's definitely an upgrade. And Goldschmidt can have a resurgent year. I'm not saying that it's not possible. He's got it in the bank. He's a phenomenal player. I'm just looking at the Yankees' previous history with people that are in their last, in the last kind of sunset tour of their careers. And I would say it's about 99% failure rate.
True. And another stat, Donald, and a great comment here by Jay Snow. He says, I have a feeling this lineup is going to be super weak. They're banking a lot of things to go right. That's what I said earlier in the show. But another problem, Donald, in my opinion, the Yankees don't hit the ball to all fields. Paul Goldschmidt doesn't do that anymore. His ball percentage has gone up. His hitting to the opposite field has gone down. That's a problem. The Yankees are not hitting it to all fields, and that's going to continue with Paul Goldschmidt in the lineup.
Yeah, that's a really good point too. Jay Snow's absolutely killing it right there. That's a great point. That's kind of where I'm at, but we're going to get into the lineup in a minute.
Yeah.
So give me your grade on the Goldschmidt signing.
I'm going to go either. I'm not really high on the signing at all, Donald. I want to go like a C minus.
That's exactly where I'm at. Like,
because you know what the issue is? Yes, he's a Hall of Famer. All this, the Yankees have picked up past their prime players in recent years at 37 at the end of their road, and it's like we've seen this before. How do we expect it to pan out differently? Just because he's a Hall of Fame player, like Donaldson was a great player in his prime. He was past his prime when the Yankees traded for him, and it didn't work out. I don't think this one's going to work.
What about Holiday? Remember when we acquired Holiday? Like that guy.
Yeah, you know what? He was more of a DH, and I honestly didn't think he was too bad at the time, but I'm not feeling this Goldschmidt. I love
And
Goldschmidt.
Carter was coming off a guy that hit like 40 home runs or something.
50 home runs, but he had a lot of strikeouts, and that's what my uncle warned me about. He wasn't great either, but I'm going C- here. Could there have been? You know what? I mean, this is a hot take, maybe.
Good point by Donnie Clark. Matt Carpenter went on a tear. That's like the only example I can think of.
That was short-lived, though. That was very short-lived. That wasn't consistency. That was a very hot run. You know, he was a great pinch hitter and all that.
Tulo as a Yankee was a disaster.
The reason the Yankees signed him because Didi was injured. He had that shoulder surgery. You know, he was that kind of recuperation plan. But I also wanted to bring up, I was going to say something with Goldschmidt. What was I going to say? I just completely lost my train of thought. But you know what? Here, I would have rather had Christian Walker. But the Yankees apparently, per reports, did not want to give up a compensatory draft pick, which is nonsense. You're talking about, listen, was Christian Walker the best first baseman last year? No, he had a down year. But you know what?
He's still Gold Glove caliber. He's one of the best
first basemen caliber. Walker right now is 33 years old. I would rather have somebody at 33 signed to like a 2-year, 3-year deal as opposed to someone who's 37 and at the end of the road. I would have rather signed. I'm going to be honest. I'm going to be fully transparent. I would rather sign Pete Alonso for like a 2-year deal. What he got?
Oh, 100%.
Alonso, I think, blew himself out of a lot of money. I think he really shortchanged himself. That's also Scott Boras as well. But I don't think I don't think Goldie's going to have a good year.
No, I don't think so either. I've got it as a C-. The reason why it's a C- is not necessarily because I think the money's good.
Yeah, the money's fine.
Money's good. And the player is a phenomenal. And I want to be wrong on this because he's one of my favorite players in the league. Like, it's not, I don't like the player. I want to be clear here. I love the player. I just don't love the direction that it takes the Yankees.
No.
Because once again, the reason why I've got it as a C-, and I could actually give it a failing grade, but I'm going to give it a C- to be kind, is because it told us exactly where the Yankees are at.
Mm-hmm.
And that means that they're right at the Cohen tax threshold. They don't want to go above it. That 12.5 took them right to it, to the number, and that meant that the Yankees were done after that. And that's why I was down on it, because if you looked at the list of the first basemen that were available this offseason, Goldschmidt was actually one of the worst of the bunch of the list that was available. So Pete Alonso was available. Christian Walker. I wanted Walker. I wanted Alonso.
What if you traded for Josh Naylor? Josh Naylor was available via trade.
Josh Naylor is a better player now, not overall, but now he's a better player. He's going to give you 30 home runs. He's going to give you an 800 OPS. He's going to give you all the numbers that you need. We passed on that. And then there was Nathaniel Lowe. The guy is going to give you contact.
I would have traded for Lau.
Defense, all that stuff. He was a steal. And the Yankees passed on that too. So there was a bunch of options there that would have been much better in terms of improving our lineup. Instead, we've gone with someone that's 37 and we don't know what we've got. So I felt of all the options, I thought it was the worst option. Should have traded for Naylor, says Donnie. I agree. I wanted Naylor, and the return was paltry. I can't believe that we couldn't have beaten the Naylor deal. I couldn't believe we didn't beat the Loud deal from the Rangers. That was a steal as well.
I see Sean Browning says, remember Ruben Sierra and Darryl Strawberry? Well, there's two different things, completely different era we're in. Darryl had great hitters around him. Not saying Darryl wasn't key. You know, he wasn't Darryl of the Mets with the Yankees, but he also had Paul O'Neill. You know, the role we're expecting Goldschmidt to play is much larger than what maybe you've expected of Strawberry, Donald.
Yeah. I mean, there's no backup to him.
No.
So he has to be fantastic.
Exactly. That's what I got to say. And, you know, obviously I think somebody brought up the budget with Hal and all those different things. That's another conversation. But I just want there was and you know, here's another thing. Here's a possible solution that the Yankees could have gone after via trade for third base or first base. Yandy Diaz from the Rays.
Right. You could have gone Yandy Diaz, and that again addresses our lineup. I like that idea.
Yandy at third, Volpe at short, Jazz at second, and then whoever you have at first, whether it be Christian Walker, that would have won with that.
Right. See, what we could have done, and this is what I would have done as a priority. Christian Walker. If you look at his numbers, bring up his stats from last year, Luca.
Absolutely.
Top of my head, 30 plus home runs, 90 plus RBIs, and an OPS of like 800 plus, which is all way above league average.
Yeah, Christian Walker last year, get the basic numbers as well. 26 home runs, 84 RBIs, 251, 803 OPS, which was higher than Goldschmidt, 335 on base percentage. Yes, as you mentioned, Donald, Gold Glove. He had 8 sacrifice flies last year, just a stat in there as well. OPS above average, 121. I'm going to look at Goldschmidt's OPS plus because that's also a very important.
98.
Oof, that's below average. That's below
average. That's it. So we've instead of just giving $20 million a year to Walker, who's going to give you way above league average numbers, we've gone with someone who's giving you below league average numbers, and that's why I give it a C- because I just felt that of all the options, it was the weakest option, and all it does is it just kicks the can down the line for another 12 months. So best case scenario, and this is where way I view this deal, and that's why I've got it as such a low grade. As best case scenario, he's fantastic. What's the upside? Because you're going to extend him? The dude's like 38.
Exactly.
So you're not going to extend him when he's 39.
Yeah.
So then you're going to let him go. And once again, you're kicking the can down the line another year. What's the upside? The downside is that he struggles immensely, and then we're scrambling, and then we're going to have to use Rice at first base, or we're going to have to make another trade. And it just gives me flashbacks to other years, because I remember when the Yankees won the World Series in 2003 and Hal went cheap. Yes, he went cheap. And then Brian Cashman couldn't afford to bring in Hideki Matsui for $5 million, which is laughable.
That was 09. You said 03. That was 09.
Sorry, 03. 2009. Couldn't afford Matsui. Went Nick Johnson, right? And that was so bad. That deal was so bad. Nick Johnson was so bad. And then he got hurt that they went and had to go with Austin Kearns trade, top of my head.
Austin Kearns, that was the one.
Right. And that's so once again, you try to go cheap, it blows up in your face, and you scramble and have to go and make another trade. And the Yankees have to make another trade anyway because they need a third baseman. They don't have a third baseman.
Exactly.
So look at one last point before I pass to you.
Yeah.
Had they have gone big at first, like a Pete Alonso for 2 years, laughable. Go get him, for God's sake, 2 years, Jesus Christ.
Right.
Or Walker for 3. You're getting proper numbers.
Yes.
You're guaranteed someone right there that's going to give you guaranteed numbers. Then you can go cheap at third. But because we went cheap at first, now we have to go big at third. And we're going to go cheap at third. And now I'm pissed.
Yes. Some real quick before I give my final thoughts on the Goldschmidt acquisition. In terms of Christian Walker, he's better at spraying the ball over the field. Pull percentage, yes, it's higher than Goldschmidt, 30.5, but he also puts the ball in center field and right field. 52% of his balls are hit to center field, 17.5% to right. Let's see here. I mentioned the OPS plus 121 for Christian Walker. Let's look at the WAR as well, just for average. 2.6 for Christian Walker, above average, obviously, as opposed to 3.8 in the year that the Diamondbacks actually went to the World Series. Goldschmidt's not a positive, man. I'm sorry. Like, we've saying this again. Final thoughts on Goldschmidt. The Yankees, when they've acquired past their prime players in recent years, have not worked out. Why should I believe this one? Goldschmidt's great. It's not like he's a Carlos Santana where he's consistently the same player and there's rarely a downgrade, because Carlos Santana, in my opinion, is like a Nelson Cruz. He's always going to find that power. He's never going to be substantially great, but he's going to give you those home runs. Goldschmidt is known for power and strikeouts, but there's more strikeouts than power.
Great point, man. And we got Regil the Great. Passing on membership for 2 months. My guy, Stanton Goldie, DJ, slowest base running of all time. That is crazy. Regil the Great is the great. He is now officially the GOAT of the Pinstripe Chronicles channel. So salute to you, man. And there's 60 odd in the chat. Where's the likes, guys? Come on.
Guys.
The likes are as slow as DJ LeMahieu running to first base. So come on, guys. Let's get the likes up. Let's get it speedy. Let's get it Jazz Chisholm speed rather than DJ LeMahieu speed. Let's go with that, guys. Right? Hit that like button. And also, sub up to my guy, Luca, who's got Knicks cast. He's got a Knicks hat on. We're excited because we got the Knicks Celtics coming up very, very soon.
And they also, I just want to say, non-baseball note, they also just ruled out Kristaps Porzingis for the game. He's got an illness. Just as
non-baseball. Going to be making it because he was questionable.
Yes.
Cat's good? Let's go. Let's go. Orange and blue skies, baby. And not the Mets orange and blue. New York Knicks orange and blue. Sean Browning says, Judge and friends. Do you think Hal being cheap? Yeah, I got a couple of questions for Luca before we give our overall grades of the offseason. What about that stuff where Aaron Judge stopped DJ LeMahieu from getting DFA'd last year?
Is that true?
Yeah. And Aaron Judge also campaigning for
Verdugo?
Hal Steinbrenner said that he was the reason why they made the Bellinger deal because Aaron Judge really pushed for it. How do you feel about Aaron Judge having this level of importance in the organization?
I'm going to come off as severely negative, and I'm going to come off as a bit of an a-hole, and you guys could debate me and all this stuff. I don't care. As soon as the World Series ended, I felt that Judge was not a leader. Judge is not no Derek Jeter, and I'm not expecting him to be that. But I don't think Judge is in the position to be making having the say to be making moves like these. He doesn't have a ring on his finger. He campaigned apparently for Verdugo last year. I campaigned for Verdugo last year. It didn't work out. Bellinger, okay, that was the Yankees' move that they should have made without his voice. The fact that the Yankees are refusing to DFA DJ LeMahieu and just eat the money because of Judge is nonsense. He's been on a consistent decline year after year since 2021. And you know what? You got to look at the baseball. And again, he should have no say, honestly. You know, I could go into a thing about Judge and his leadership and all that with the mentality with the Yankees. I'm not going to do that. But I just don't think he has the same.
Well, you got an ally with me, my friend, because
I get he's the quote unquote captain. I'm saying quote unquote for a reason, but he should not be having this type of personnel say. I'm sorry.
We're completely aligned on this. I know it's not a popular take because everybody loves him and he's everybody's favorite player. And they've already given half a freaking stand of the stadium to this guy. And yeah, he hit some home runs. Yeah, he wins some MVPs, but so did A-Rod.
Where's the other
A-Rod has an actual championship, but A-Rod had no pull in the organization. Derek Jeter is the greatest captain of all time. He had no pull in the organization. Do you know what it says to me? It says to me there's a lack of leadership. That's what it says to me.
You said you took the words right out of my mouth.
Yeah. It says to me that there's a leadership gulf in the organization. Hal is not really a baseball guy. So he's a businessman. He's a businessman. And that's fine. Hal's not really a baseball guy. So he trusts his baseball guys. And his baseball guys are three people. Aaron Boone, Aaron Judge, Brian Cashman.
You could also say Michael Fishman, but that's more of a Cashman thing.
Michael Fishman, I don't know what dude. He can be a freaking cartoonist for the New Yorker for all I know. Like literally, what does he do? Because he's definitely not an analytics guy. Because analytics are awful.
He's negative.
He is a negative. He's a negative 1.7 analytics guy.
Yeah, I want to bring up too. Donnie Clark says Judge wants to be the king of New York. I sent you this post a couple days ago from Joe the Librarian. I'm going to say it like the Judge, I don't think belongs number one in the King of New York. We're not going to go into the King of New York debate because this is strictly Yankees, but I don't think he's number one. I don't get why people have this like love affair, like, said players are relevant because, Aaron Judge is the most. Judges might be the most popular, but he hasn't performed in the playoffs. Say, you know what? Yeah. He's number one. Like, I'm sorry. Like, A-Rod, as a lot of Yankee fans give crap to A-Rod and about the steroids and all this and, suing the organization, all these different things at the end of his career. A-Rod had 2009, and he's going to ride with 2009. 2009, multiple clutch home runs and hits. Let's start off. Game 2, game-tying home run off Joe Nathan. Game 3, game-tying home run, I think it was off of his former teammate Carl Pavano. Game 2 of the ALCS, hitting a home run off Brian Fuentes in the extra innings, tying the game when it was like soaking wet outside. Multiple clutch hits in the World Series, home runs in the ALCS. Like, he has all of that. Where have Judge's big hits have been? Besides the home run, I think it was in Game
Facts.
4 or Game 5 of the World Series, and that home run of Class A. Where is it? I'm being objective. I'm trying to be serious here. I'm not some love affair guy. Like, we want to love Judge, but we have to call things out objectively.
Exactly. There's no simping
not a
on
leader.
this particular show. I don't simp. I definitely don't simp. And it's ironic because this is an organization that prides themselves on not having any names in the back of their jersey, yet they're giving Aaron Judge, the captaincy, which he hasn't really earned. He's given him a stand in the stadium, and now he's giving him part-time GM role as well, with none of the accountability, with all of the accolades and none of the accountability. And that's what I have a problem with. I don't really think that players should be in the ear of the general manager, because all it does is make Brian Cashman's life more difficult than it already is.
Yeah. And I'm going to be fair, he's not doing his job great, in my opinion. But you know what? Is also as well, the leadership aspect, as you said, Donald, great point. The Yankees lack leadership. What makes me irritated, it's not surprising. I shouldn't be surprised by this. Aaron Boone and John Birdie getting ticked off at Joe Kelly's comments trolling the Yankees after the World Series. First of all, you are nowhere near the Dodgers in terms of fight,
Facts.
in terms of leadership, in terms of gravitas. You did not belong on the same stage as the Dodgers. Yes, the
I don't
Dodgers
believe so either. Facts.
The Yankees should be motivated and pissed off that they lost, not because somebody's trolling them. They're worried about the wrong things, and that's my biggest concern with this organization.
Yes.
They're so easily gratified. They're so easily satisfied. That's my overall thought. And final thought on Hal
That's
Steinbrenner.
right. I don't know if you watched a previous show of mine. I actually said my opening statement on one of the Yankeefied podcasts. I said the Yankees are a very, very self-satisfied organization.
Yeah.
You look at Hal Steinbrenner's comments, it does come across as someone that's pretty self-satisfied, and he's really just a kind of a guy that if you get to the playoffs, and he's pretty cool with it.
Exactly. And listen, the things with Stroman, the reason that the Yankees aren't acquiring a third baseman, because, we're not trading Stroman. Hal does not want to go over the luxury tax, the 301. And you know what? It's a problem with two things. Hal's not, Hal makes a crap ton of money every year. We could go on and on about that. But he could pay for the luxury tax, A. B, he's trusting the wrong people with the wrong baseball decisions. The Yankees, Stroman should be gone by now. DJ LeMahieu should be gone by now. And, by having them on the roster, it obviously takes up a lot of salary, which prevents you, ideally, if you have a budget in mind, to get the proper third baseman.
Right. Now, that was our rant out the way. Let's get back to business. We made a couple of minor trades. Obviously, Trevino's gone. We made a couple of smart acquisitions for the bullpen. Overall,
yeah.
What offseason grade would you give the Yankees? Not just the moves that we did make, but also the fact that we've kind of left third base completely open. And obviously, we acquired Tim Hill. I think that was a good signing. I have no issue with that.
Of course, he was reliable.
Yeah, he's fine. No issues there. What overall grade would you give the Yankee offseason?
I will mention what I said before, and I said that on both sides, pitching and hitting, the Yankees are relying on a bunch of some guys, key cogs, nonetheless, to have a bounce back year. Goldschmidt, Bellinger, even though I'm not so much worried about Bellinger because he's like, he could have a good year, bad year, this, that, and third. And Fried, to stay healthy. Once again, the Yankees, I think, took risks in the wrong direction. They continue to do that. They continue to be pro-risky. I'm not even going to say an A. I'm going to be like B minus, because there was other opportunities that they could have taken. That's my issue. And it's not this Monday morning. It's not this Monday morning quarterback kind of thing where it's revisionist history. Oh, you're just saying this now. No, I campaigned for Walker. Yandy Diaz, who my friend brought up as a suggestion, like way in the offseason, like, wow, that's such a novel idea. The Yankees should absolutely go trade for him, even though the Cubs, I think, were trying to trade for him or whatever. Diaz, putting Bellinger at first, Teoscar in left, Dominguez in center would have been great. But once again, it's just like you're left to wonder. And it's not just so much, the mentality aspect, but just in terms of the personnel, I'm giving it a low B, honestly, a low B or a high C.
Yeah, I'm low B. The fact they left third base open at this stage, I find actually pretty criminal. I have to be honest.
Yeah.
But it could all change if they make a deal for like an Arenado or an Arise or Willie Castro, I don't know. Nico Horner, I prefer Nico Horner, obviously. If they make an acquisition, then obviously we'll revisit it. But as it stands right now, I give it a low B. I think the acquisitions are all fine. Like I can make an argument for every one of our acquisitions,
Right.
including Goldschmidt, even though I haven't given it the highest grade. I can make a positive case for every single one of our
Absolutely.
acquisitions.
You can.
And that is something that's a credit to Brian Cashman. I think Brian Cashman's had a pretty good offseason. Like, I don't have an issue with his offseason. I think he's been hamstrung by Hal Steinbrenner and the Cohen tax threshold. So don't really have an issue. I think he's done his best. The Soto thing came out of was a real kick in the teeth, and the Yankees have managed to kind of scramble and get together a decent offseason, which speaks to credit to him. He's actually one of the people that I give credit to this offseason is Brian Cashman. It's so I can make a case for each acquisition. It's just I look at the other names that were available and I say, damn.
Yeah, that's my point.
Yeah, that's it. Because I mean, look at the names that were available. Tucker's available. Alonso's available. Bregman is begging to be signed. He's like, sign me. And the Yankees are like, no, we're cheap. So
I mean, here's the thing, though. The longer Bregman waits, his price is going to come cheaper and cheaper and cheaper and cheaper. Same thing happened with Alonso. So why can't it happen with Alex Bregman?
Right. So the fact that we don't want to go with a big contract at third base just because of this luxury tax threshold will never not annoy me.
Yeah, I understand.
Because at the end of the day, I understand that there's taxes and bondsmen and the Yankees have commitment. But at the end of the day, the luxury tax isn't taken into account until next year.
Yeah.
So whether we move Stroman now or move Stroman in July, it makes no difference.
Right.
Once that contract is relieved. So just make the signing now. Right? I mean, at the end of the day, you're going to pay a little bit more anyway, so just deal with it. Suck it up. You got an incredible amount of money for having Juan Soto in the Bronx for a year. The amount of we went to a couple of games, Luca. I spent the summer freaking going to games just for Soto, and the Bronx was alive. It was alive like I hadn't seen it in a long, long time. So they benefited from it. They had Soto fucking basketball jerseys. They had the whole freaking thing. They got a ton of money, hand over fist. I'm asking for some of that money that you got from the playoffs where every single seat was like fucking $3,000 and you put it towards a third baseman. Good Lord. It's the least that we deserve as fans, let's be honest, because we're very committed. So that's kind of where I'm at with it. It's like, yeah, the moves are fine, but when you look at the moves that we missed out on, makes it kind of mid.
Absolutely.
So let's get into where we're at with the lineup. We are gonna touch on this Yankee lineup here, and we're gonna break it down and see where we feel about it. So I will share our screen and we will get it looked at where we're at, and kind of break it down as honestly as we can. So here we go. Projected rotation and defensive alignment. So we're looking at an outfield of Dominguez, Bellinger, Judge. Defensively, it looks great. Like, there's no doubt about that. Goldschmidt, Jazz, Volpe, Oswaldo Cabrera, Austin Wells, Big G. Defensive, and obviously the rotation of Cole, Fried, Rodon, Luis Gil, Schmidt. I mean, it's solid. There's not really a weakness there apart from third base. It's pretty solid. Where are you standing on it?
Well, I agree that it's solid. Just some comments. Volpe, I don't know what most people are expecting. I hope he kind of has an all-star year this year to kind of like finally break out, should I say, because I thought he
Mm.
showed some spurts in the postseason. It's his 3rd year in the league. He has to be. I think he has to be like close. Like if he's this highly touted prospect that the Yankees proclaim to be, has to be at least close to all-star numbers, if you want my honest opinion.
Mm-hmm.
Chisholm, I think this is either the last year on his contract or next year is. In terms of Jazz, played horrifically in the postseason. He was basically unplayable.
Mm-hmm.
One of my biggest problems with Jazz as well, close the trap. Close the trap. You ran his mouth way too often. That's a non-baseball note, but still, he was like, oh, the Yankees win the World Series. Yankees end up losing, but that was just a thought. Dominguez in left field, I hope he doesn't struggle, but I'm afraid there might be some struggles there. It's Big G.
He's a rookie. He's barely had 100 at bats.
Yeah, that's true. And obviously there's room to grow, but I would prefer him in center field, obviously with the Teoscar thing, but whatever. Goldschmidt. I mean, I said my piece on Goldschmidt. Judge goes back to right, his best position.
Oh yeah, by far.
Big G, whether he shows up. Honestly, I've come to the point with Big G, whether he shows up in the regular season is almost kind of irrelevant. If he's in the postseason, then that's a big deal for me. That's what makes the cake for me.
Right. I look at this and the alignment in terms of defensively, it's miles better than last year. We were not a good team last year in terms of like the fundamentals. It was a joke. So this is much better. No one really talked about how bad Aaron Judge was in center field. I mean, he was bad in center field. I don't really need like the numbers to tell me otherwise because he let a lot of balls drop in front of him.
Yeah.
So it's going to be nice to have a center fielder with a bit of range there. Aaron Judge is a phenomenal right fielder, so he'll be better there. Dominguez, I'm worried about because he's a center fielder and he looked completely lost in left field. But let's hope that the Yankees really properly like take the pressure off him and allow him to kind of develop down there in left field and at the bottom of the order. I don't want him leading off because I think that's unfair on the guy. He's barely had 100 at bats. I mean, but I think Aaron Boone will lead off for them because this is the next point. Let's look at the batting order.
Right.
I came across a really good bit from Talking Yanks where they asked a question of Josie and he was Joe's McFly and he was like, oh boy, because what are we doing with the second half of the lineup? And that's where I'm at. I don't know. So let's look at it. Like, let's look at the
right. Let's look at
best case scenario or worst case scenario with these guys, right? And we'll try and find an in between because obviously we don't simp on this channel. Or on this podcast to try and keep things as realistic as possible. Aaron Judge, we kind of know what he's going to give you. He's going to give you.
He'll be in the 2 hole.
He's going to be in the 2 or 3 hole. He's going to give you 50 home runs if he's healthy. The OPS is going to be there. The on-base percentage is going to be there. He will have a couple of weeks where he disappears. But in general, he's going to be pretty good as long as it's not in a big spot. But by and large, he's going to be an MVP kind of player. So we've got that, right? Mm-hmm. Cody Bellinger. I don't know. Like, we kind of broke him down earlier. He could be a sub 20 home run hitter, or he could be a 30-plus home run hitter.
Right.
Where do you think?
In the lineup, I'm going to look it up and see where he hit best last year. He's more of, like, in my opinion, a 4 to 6 guy, maybe 4 to 7, somewhere in that range in terms of, where he places in the starting lineup. I'm going to try to see where he placed well last year in terms of hitting. But
I would probably have Bellinger in front of Judge. I'd probably have him bat second, Judge third. Not ideally, but I don't think there's any options.
No. Let me see. Run out first, fourth inning. Let's see. Second, third. Well, in a short span, he was okay. Let me see. Not leading off, definitely third. He was mostly third or fourth. So you might have a point with being somewhere in that order.
I quite like Judge batting third because I think he'll get more RBI opportunities, and he's going to be our RBI guy. Maybe Bellinger can run into a few home runs in right field, and maybe he'll get some contact with that 260 batting average. That's why I'd probably bat him second. But I'm looking, and I don't know who's about leadoff. You could have Jazz Chisholm leading off, but you're saying close the trap. How about you close that golf swing, bro? And that's what I'm worried about. If he's leading off, it's a dramatic swing where it's a little bit too much of an uppercut for me. So he's kind of an all or nothing kind of player, Jazz Chisholm.
I think Volpe is going to be the leadoff hitter.
Oh, no.
Not that I want it, but either Jazz or Volpe in terms of leadoff. I don't see Dominguez yet.
Yeah, I think Boone's probably going to go with Dominguez leading off because Volpe was so bad leading off. It was just diabolical.
Absolutely.
What was Volpe's leadoff numbers
last year? I'm going to pull them up for you.
I think it was horrible from what I recall.
All right, Volpe. Let's see. Leadoff numbers from last year. Looking into splits. Okay. Leadoff. All right. Let's see. And batting first, 242.
Okay.
Leading off, 258.
Okay.
In just the advanced numbers, 258 leading off, 307 on base percentage. OPS below average though, 683.
Yikes.
Batting first, 242. Batting average, 293 on base, 651 OPS.
He was only on base 29% of the time?
Yes.
Yeah, you can't have that batting leadoff, man. That's my problem. And that's the thing with Volpe. This is going to have to be Volpe's year because if Volpe has another year similar to last year and the year before where he's not a league average hitter, then we're kind of in trouble.
Yeah, we're kind of spinning in circles.
Yeah. I'm not that high on Volpe as others.
Neither am I.
Yeah, I think that he is kind of like I think he's above league average shortstop, and I think he's a below league average bat. So I think he just comes up as an average player. Not a bad player, just not great, and certainly not what was billed to us. But it can still happen for him. It's just
of course.
I don't necessarily feel that great about him. I feel better about Austin Wells. I think Austin Wells has a higher ceiling than Volpe.
I think so too. I think Wells, he did struggle in the postseason, but Wells, I think, has shown more significant flashes. Like, okay, this could be the guy here.
So, regardless of where these guys are placed in the order, a batting lineup of Austin Wells, Goldschmidt, Jazz, Judge, Cody, Jason Dominguez, Anthony Volpe, Oswaldo Cabrera / DJ LeMahieu, Big G. My overall thoughts on the batting lineup would be if Cornflakes was a batting lineup. That's how I would describe it. It's just average, like an average lineup. It doesn't do anything for me. I know it sounds really negative. I know it sounds really haterish. It doesn't excite me in the least. There's nothing about this lineup that excites me. There's no one that gets on base apart from Aaron Judge. There's far too many strikeouts, and there's not that much power,
right?
Apart from Stanton and Judge. Like, I love Stanton. Stanton's my guy. I'll ride with him forever. I just don't know what we've got because you can legitimately make the case that 2/3 of this lineup are question marks. Dominguez is a question mark. Volpe is a question mark. Third base is a question mark. Wells is a question mark because he was so bad second half of the year. Goldschmidt's a question mark. So that leaves Jazz, Stanton, and Judge are the only non-question marks in the lineup. I feel pretty good that we know what we have with Jazz. I think he's an exciting kind of high slug kind of player. He strikes out a lot, not highest contact, but he's going to be an exciting player. Feel good about him. Judge is Judge. He's fine, MVP caliber. And Stanton's amazing. So it's just that three. The rest, I don't know what we have. There's a chance that Dominguez turns into what we hope, which helps. And there's a chance that one of Bellinger and Goldschmidt have big-time years. I just don't think both of them will.
Right.
I just think there's too many question marks in this lineup.
That's what I said. That's why I said a lot of it has to go right. And also as well, I put together a lineup. A lot of guys, are in the middle of the order. There's not enough balance throughout the lineup where, okay, this guy could bat here. No, this guy has to bat here to be successful, like a Bellinger or a Goldschmidt. Like Goldschmidt, Bellinger, Judge, Stanton, that's all meat of the order, guys. Nobody's batting leadoff there. Jazz Chisholm, like, where is he going to bat? How does he bat leadoff? Because he was a terrible swing in the postseason last year. You need him to readjust that swing and say, you know what, hit for contact. But that's, why people would say, hey, you know what, let's go trade for Luis Arias as great leadoff bat. But Joel Sherman brought this up, and I did completely disagree with him because I still have somewhat of an old school mindset. He's like, oh, he's a singles hitter, this, that, and third. He taps the ball, all this, stuff. But you know what? The Yankees kind of do need a leadoff hitter. There's no proven guy here to lead off.
No, that's it. I want some on base percentage here. Salute to Sierra. No slander on Big G allowed. I just got my Big G road jersey in the mail. So that's the shirt I'll be repping all year. Big G all the way. He is my guy. Put him in Cooperstown. Put him in Memorial Park. That's where he deserves to be, especially for that playoffs. Big G all the way. So I do love myself some Big G. But there's, I think, 2/3 of this lineup, there's some question marks. I would say a third of the 2/3, I would say, are probably going to step up. I can say that I think Wells is going to be fine. I think Dominguez is going to be fine. And I think maybe Bellinger or Goldschmidt are going to have good years, but one of them won't. And then I just don't think it's enough to replace even close to Soto because the reason why I bring his name up into it is because Hal Steinbrenner said that he felt that Bellinger and Goldschmidt would go a long way. He said those words, a long way to replacing Juan Soto. And I was like, does this guy know what he's talking about?
No, he sounds like a fool. This isn't Bellinger from like 2019 or 2021 or even Goldschmidt from these years. Bellinger is a hot and cold hitter in terms of year by year. Goldschmidt's past his prime. That's the issue.
Yeah, that's it. Now, Donnie says Peraza great defensively, not great offensively. He is a question mark.
The way
Peraza can play third.
He can.
I love Peraza. I honestly don't think there's much difference between Peraza and Volpe. I could make the argument I think Peraza is a little bit better than Volpe. I like him better as a prospect.
The way the Yankees have handled Peraza is absolutely ludicrous. And here's the thing, like when they had a chance, it was like one of the deadlines. It was either 2022 or 2023. The Yankees had the chance to trade Peraza. He was like, his stock was probably the highest it could be. They didn't trade him, and they didn't even call him up either. That's the issue. They essentially went about face. We're not going to trade you, but you're not coming to the big leagues either and earning significant playing time. And what is Peraza's value at this point? Again, this is the problem with the Yankees in handling their prospects. They wait till their lowest value to trade him.
That's a problem because now he has no options. And now the Yankees are hamstrung. So if he doesn't do the job out of spring, or maybe the Yankees do make another trade and do acquire a third baseman, or heck, they just write it out with DJ LeMahieu and Oswaldo Cabrera, and Peraza's just kind of sitting in the sidelines. Now they're going to be forced to trade Peraza, and then that means that he's probably going to be traded for anything they can get. Absolutely. Instead of his top value. And that's what the problem is. They mistreated him so badly where he was up and down like a yo-yo. I used another example in a previous podcast. I'm going to try and keep it PG-13 on this occasion. He's been up and down like a yo-yo between AAA and the majors, and now he's got no options left. And his trade value is lower than it would have been had we taken advantage of his top value a couple of years ago. And I really don't think there's a big difference between Peraza and Volpe. I've said it before. Peraza is a better defender than Volpe. He's got a million times better arm. You see when Volpe makes a throw on the run, it needs to bounce like at least twice to reach first base. Peraza throws an absolute bullet. He throws a rocket. And also, he's got a better bat than Volpe. But because he's not The Yankees weren't as invested in him as they were Volpe. I'm putting it in a nice word that weren't as invested in him. So they've given Volpe all the run, and they've never given Peraza the shot. And I think Peraza is just going to be another one of those forgotten Yankees very, very soon, where he'll probably end up in the Marlins. Maybe he'll end up DFA'd. Probably end up in the White Sox, for nothing. Maybe some low-level prospect and forgotten about. And that's a shame because he's too good for that.
I think so too. And Donnie also brought up Everson Pereira, another questionable Yankee prospect who didn't exactly make his mark when he came up to the Yankees, but he's another question mark. Not that
I think there's some question marks because if there's any injuries to this Yankee lineup, I'm really not sure who they can graduate from AAA that can do a job. We're kind of hamstrung at the 40-man, and there's some question marks here. So that's why I'm not as high on the lineup as others.
Right.
And it's a little bit up in the air. There's Donnie likes Vivas. Vivas is another option. No doubt that. Armand says, what about Volpe leading off with Jazz batting second? I'm worried about the on-base percentage there.
Yeah, he didn't get on base a lot.
Two guys that are too strikeout heavy and not too much contact. We don't have an ideal leadoff guy. And that's, again, where I have a real issue with the constitution of this lineup.
Absolutely.
I don't totally understand it. Like, I'm not saying that the Yankees should just give up because they didn't get Soto, but I think you could have found names that better fit a profile as to what the Yankees need. So, Soto was someone that gave you an on base of almost 500, right? Mm-hmm. So you want, if you're not going to get that, you're not going to be able to get like a 420 on base percentage. But if you can get someone that's in the high, like 370 up to 400, something in that range, then you're more or less replacing that aspect that you're missing. You know what I'm saying? So like what I would have done is so you lose Soto, then you go, right, what's Soto's best assets? Well, he's on base all the time. Well, okay, let's go and let's target someone that gets on base a lot. And then we stick him at leadoff, and then you got Aaron Judge batting after him. Then that means that you've got like a plan there, right? And then what else are we missing? Well, Soto gives you 45 home runs and 150 RBIs. Right, well, we're not going to be able to get that and from one player, but you can at least get one guy that's going to give you 30-plus home runs. Mm-hmm. And if you get that, plus someone that gets on base, then you're more or less kind of replacing the skill sets what you're missing. The Yankees didn't do that. Instead, the Yankees went with two guys coming off
bad years,
down years, below average years, and now you're kind of left with a question mark going, is this really what's going to...
A lot of what ifs.
Too many what ifs. And I think it's going to come back, and I'll be honest, I think it's going to come back and bite them in the ass.
I think Teoscar would have been not just great for center field or left field. Yeah. I think he could have either fit in the bottom of the order or even lead off.
Well, though Donnie is really, really positive about the Martian. I love the Martian. The Martian, when he first came in, before he
was slugging home runs to right field consistently.
Superb. So, hey, there's a chance. I want to be wrong. But I'm just going by what we know. You know?
Yeah, all I'm doing is just a bunch of questions.
Big question.
What if? Everything is a what if, except like three hitters.
So that's where we're at. And I think it's going to come back and bite them when Fried goes 7 innings shutout, Cole goes 7 innings shutout, and we can't score any runs for them. And then we're going to be like, God damn it. You know what I'm saying?
There's no table setters. Table setters.
And the American League, there's teams that are starting to make some moves. Like I like what the Astros did. I really like what the Tigers did. And that brings us to the next topic before we close it out. Gleyber Torres and Brian Cashman kind of mouthing at each other a little bit.
Yeah.
So little bit interesting. I don't know if it's a big deal or not. So I've got the quote here. Brian Cashman on the S Network. He says, when I acquired Jazz to be our second baseman and moved Gleyber to third the rest of that year. Booney wanted to do it the other way. he moved Jazz to third after we got him and Gleyber to second because Gleyber didn't want to move to third. He was unwilling, and he basically said, "I am a second baseman. I will not move." How do you feel about that? There's some that are like, "Oh, I am Team Gleyber," but there's others going, "Hey, well, Cashman's kind of right," and then others will be like, "Well, Boone's kind of right for sticking by his player." There's different kind of arguments, so I want to leave it open to the chat, and I want to leave it to you, Luca. Where do you lie on this?
It's a giant microcosm of the Yankees' lack of leadership because you obviously have Cashman and Boone. One's going this way, one's going that way. And it's my when I say leadership, when I talk about how the Yankees have pampered Gleyber year after year after year, his ego, his mistakes. He felt sorry for what he did in the field. It's like a kid. It's like a embarrassing mother defending her kid. That's all the Yankees have done. I would have preferred Jazz to play at second than third. I don't know. I don't remember the numbers off the top of my head how he was at third, but you know what? Just play him at second, play him his natural position. If Gleyber kind of pulled the Mekhi Becton when it came, if you're a Jet fan, like, oh, I'm this position. No, you're not. Which position you play, shortstop, second base, third base, you still have mental errors. So you know what? You're going to play this position. You will like it.
Right. That's what I couldn't quite understand. So we made the trade for a second baseman, and we put him in a position where he's never played before in order to pacify somebody who we had no intention of keeping beyond that year.
Exactly.
That's what I couldn't understand. I was like, make that make sense to me. So the Yankees were done with Gleyber. They were completely and totally done with him. They were just going to ride out the rest of the year with him, and it was obvious they weren't going to pick up his QO. But why are you pacifying him and moving Jazz to a position he's never played before? I mean, in general, it worked okay. And I thought Jazz was fine at third, and I thought Gleyber actually had a very good postseason. So maybe it worked, but I think you're right, man. Whichever, if it was the right move, the wrong move, or in between, I think we can sum it up by saying it just speaks to the Yankees' lack of leadership. If Brian Cashman has one clear idea in mind, I'm acquiring him to upgrade our second base, which is a massive problem, right? He's right about that. Now, I know there's going to be some Gleyber people in the chat that love the guy. All right. But by the way, Cashman's right. Jazz Chisholm is a miles better second baseman than Gleyber Torres. It's not close. Gleyber Torres gave you the worst defense at second in the league last year, and it isn't close. So if Brian Cashman has an idea in mind, I'm going to go and make this move to upgrade our second base, and we don't do it, then that just makes no sense to me. I'm just sort of like, Brian Cashman was right.
Yeah.
So why is Aaron Boone defending Gleyber and pacifying Gleyber? I just Donnie doesn't get it either. Regiel's comment is a winner. Our third base coach is still her.
Armand said real quick, Gleyber has never played third and too much to ask him to play a position he has not played in season. There's too much risk. The problem with that, Armand, is why even make the Jet trade for Chisholm then? If you're not going to universally agree to say, you know what, if we make said trade, if we trade for Jazz, where are we putting Gleyber? Cashman disagreed with Boone. Boone disagreed with Cashman. And the Yankees, and the problem is, it's also a central point, the Yankees further massaged Gleyber's ego because he has been pampered by this organization for year after year after year.
Yeah.
He's wasting talent. He's wasting.
But by the way, the one time that we didn't pamper him was the time where he actually played his best. And that was when Aaron Boone benched him for 24 hours. Publicly didn't back down on it. And then Gleyber came back a new player after that, and he was so much better. So it just irritates me that the Yankees were played with kid gloves with him for years, where it got far beyond the point where he could ever turn his career around as a Yankee. And it's such a wasted opportunity because that guy could play. We should never be in a position where we have to make sure we don't pick up his qualifying offer just to ensure that he doesn't pick it up. We should never be in that position with somebody that talented. His talent was through the roof.
Absolutely. Agreed.
It's
Agreed.
it's it's a waste of an opportunity, and it's kind of frustrating. But I'll tell you what, I would have had him at third, and I would have had Jazz because at least we're kind of moving forward, and we're addressing some situations which needed to be addressed. Like second base was a bigger issue than third for me. So because we needed to strengthen that side of the infield, and because Soto was giving you kind of average to below average defense and right. Aaron Judge was struggling to get to balls up the middle as a center fielder, and Rizzo was catching nothing at first.
Yeah.
and Gleyber was doing just disastrous things at second the first half of the year. We needed to upgrade that kind of the center of the infield a little bit, and I can't believe that they pacified Gleyber Torres for that. It made no sense to me.
Absolutely. And Armin says, based on what you said, that's more on Cashman making the trade more than Boone. It's an organizational disconnect, I think, on all three parts.
Yeah. I like the trade. I think the trade was good. It was the right trade. And you could even make the argument of if Gleyber was unhappy, then trade him.
Exactly.
And go and get me Tommy Edman, who went on and won the World Championship with the Dodgers. He was available.
Yandy Diaz, whereas Isaac Paredes.
Oh, Isaac Paredes, my God. Just go get him. Trade Gleyber, bring me Paredes. Job done. Happy days. We got a better team. See, we're thinking ahead. Three steps ahead here at the Yankified podcast. Luca, give me your final thoughts, man, and shout out your channel.
Yeah, final thoughts. As I said, I gave the Yankee organization low B in terms of the offseason. In terms of the philosophy, how I see this team, I'm still, and you could call me grudge having or having a grudge and all these different things, negative and all that. I don't think much is going to change this year from an organizational standpoint. I think we're going to have the same results because there is a lack of leadership. The Yankees continue to do the same things every year, and they haven't changed. Just from a multitude of standpoints, there's a lack of leadership when you're getting pissed off about comments from an opposing pitcher who clearly won the World Series and you didn't. You should be more motivated about losing the World Series than rather a pitcher's pissed off comments. I'm just not, I'll be honest, I'm not exactly highly optimistic from just a philosophical standpoint because the Yankees continue to do what they do year after year, same results, and they don't make changes. It's the definition of insanity. You do the same thing over and over and over again. You expect different results, and the same results have happened. The Yankees haven't won a World Series champion since 2009, and I think that drought will stay.
I think that they are probably slightly a nose ahead in the AL East, so that means that they'll get in the playoffs, and we'll see. I think we benefited from last year's run from the AL Central being so poor that despite our problems as a baseball team, we kind of snuck through on some good pitching from Cole and some mammoth hitting from Soto and Stanton. And it rode us all the way through to the World Series. But once we faced a proper team with a proper organization, with proper analytics and proper management and proper scouting and proper talent, we got our asses handed to us. So I'm not sure if too much is going to change in that regard. But we'll see. That's what's great about baseball. It can all change. We will never know. Donnie suggests that I should do a show next week saying Hal is being cheap. Dude, you should have watched. I already did that a couple of podcasts ago. I did a had Hal Steinbrenner post. So anyway, I'm gonna finish on my final thought.
Absolutely.
And it comes from Michael K. And a shout out to @RealBoshek. Michael K on Pete Alonso. I like this. This is freaking fantastic. The Mets paid Maserati price for a Nissan. I honestly, it's so stupid. I can't even get my head around. So wait. I mean, I'm not the biggest Pete Alonso guy. I think he's a bit of a goofball, right? And he's not a great
Yeah.
first baseman. But that dude legitimately in his sleep is going to give you 30, 35, even 40 home runs on 100 RBIs.
They only paid him $27, I think, $1 million a year in 2 years. That's not much compared to what Judge and Soto are getting.
He's got an opt-out after this year, right? He can go into free
Exactly.
agency next year. The Mets paid a Maserati price for a Nissan? Oh, my God. Well, as I say, I love the smell of bullshit in the morning. Because that is some epic bullshit. And on that note, we will sign off. Let's go Knicks. And
Yes.
let's go Yankees. Let's go y'all
Yankees.
in the chat. Hit the
Thank
like
you.
button, hit the sub button, sub up to my guy Luca, and sub up to us because we are climbing and we are climbing fast. Good night, everybody. Have a great, great weekend. Salute. Peace.